Facebook. Wow. We're going to get started here in just a minute. Welcome, guest. Welcome, community. Welcome, race. Everyday victorious living. Welcome. We're going to get started here. Welcome, Jim. Welcome, Jim.
Santos.
Welcome. We're going to get started here in just a minute. We're going to wait for just a second or two here. Second or two. There we go. A little checking the settings here. Welcome. Audio. Coach Santos, Stockton, California there. Coach Jim, Tucson, Arizona. And I see Race. I welcome all of you. It looks like Facebook knocked me off. It's all right. We're live here. Broadcast number 227. You guys ready? Come on. What are you seeking? What are you seeking tonight? I see, let me see, Blaze Journey. So come on in. I'm inviting all of you to ask your question. What are you seeking? Are you seeking solution? Are you seeking an answer? What are we doing here? So welcome. Please ask in the comments there. Get inside. Make sure that you put your seatbelt nice and tight. Turn down all distractions. Grab a pen. Grab a piece of paper or journal. Can you guys hear me? Are we good? How are we coming in? Good? Can you hear me, Jim?
I can hear you on StreamYard, and I was able to hear you, I think, on YouTube. I turned off YouTube, but I was able to hear you.
All right, so it looks like we're live. Welcome once again. We're going to be here for about 45 minutes. Folks, time goes by quickly. I'm going to do my best to see what is important. Let me see, what are we going to focus on today? Episode number 227. Again, welcome LinkedIn, YouTube. Facebook shut me down. That's fine. For some reason, it didn't go through. We are going to be looking at how will we use our time tonight here on this broadcast. We got a little proverb coming up. We got a few questions, but most importantly, I want to see if I can help you on the other side get to Freedom Town. Are you interested in getting into Freedom Town? What's Freedom Town mean to you? Welcome, Jim. So we are started. What's on your mind, Jim? We've got Jim's got some thoughts there. We're going to bring up this topic, but most importantly, you on the other side. I want to make sure that you're not wasting your time here for the next 35 minutes. I want to make sure that you get something out of this broadcast. Whatever it is that you're seeking, let's work together here for the next 45 minutes and see what we can come up with as human beings. It's powerful human beings. Yeah. Blaze Journey, welcome. Race. What's going on, Jim?
Yeah, I was thinking about the idea of just getting through life, and then I was thinking about the topic of coping mechanisms. And I think gambling has something to do with that, along with other kinds of addictions and other kinds of habits that could be bad, that are just coping mechanisms because we're just trying to get through life based upon our own circumstances.
Yeah, well, so speaking about life, yeah, that's why it's important for us to gather together and talk about things that are important. Make sense?
Yeah, I see Blaze the Journey says time to calm and calm the urges and recalibrate. It's like I'm thinking about urges. It's like, what are these urges? What are these cravings? Why do we have these certain cravings? I tried to dig deep into my own cravings. It's like, oh, I thought I would be getting back to like normal food today. But I really thought about that. It's like I really kind of analyzed, my relationship with this kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, man, is this a coping mechanism? Is this a distraction? Is this a tool to make me avoid, certain aspects of my life? And then it got me to thinking about, spending time with yourself all alone with just your thoughts. I mean, like all of us are on YouTube. We like watching YouTube, watching TV, doing stuff, going to places, speaking to people. But oftentimes we don't like to be alone with ourselves. Why? Because, it really kind of puts our life, center stage. And then comes the thoughts, right? And oftentimes there could be a lot of negative thoughts, a lot of negative thoughts going and swirling around. And we don't want to deal with it. It's very painful. So what do? We kind of substitute, go to the casino, eat that food, drink that alcohol, go party with friends, you know, and I'm just bringing it back to coping mechanisms, right? Because why do we do all these kinds of things that are kind of bad for us, and it seems like there's a tool for it, there's a use for it, and it's just kind of keeping our head above water, you know and I'm wondering if that's okay with us. Is that okay, just keeping our head above water? I don't know if we want that or not. I don't think so, because a lot of these kinds of habits that we have, these addictions, are bad. you know they're bad. They're bad. But
Well,
we're identifying, or trying to identify, what's the root of this. It's a coping mechanism, something,
yeah,
that's pointing at something that's deeper, right? What's going on with our lives, you know
yeah, yeah. It's coping mechanisms. That's like I have to ask myself, why am I? Well, I shouldn't ask why am I here. That's not a good question to ask. You know, what can we get out of this time, this space? We've been allotted to use YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. We have technology. We've got an hour, 45 minutes. Uh, Not why are we here, but what is it that we can get from this? We're going to look at, I want to look at your questions. I really want to help somebody uh, get a breakthrough here. Let me get a proverb and then we'll get back here. We'll talk about this subject, Jim. Life, coping mechanisms, the thought process that we must confront on a daily basis. Here's my proverb. I love reading these daily, and I love meditating on this because meditation is the key to success. It's one of the keys. Meditation. We must meditate. Well, figure it out, right? We got to figure it out. We're smart people. We're very smart. We don't act smart. Most of the time, we don't act smart because somebody said something. Somebody said something. You said something to yourself because you failed yesterday. So you kept repeating it. All right, Isaiah 48 here. I read this one this morning. And even to your old age, I am he, and even to whore hairs, should have been gray or white, will I carry you. I have made you, I will bear, and even I will carry and I will deliver you. Will deliver you. Such powerful words. Uh, they're not powerful. They are cement. God talks about His people. It's a mystery. Uh, I choose to believe in God because He makes sense to me. Anyhow, I believe that's how I've been able to get into the permanent no gambling zone. the PNGZ. So let's go back. I want to make sure that we look at your questions. I don't want to preach today. I preach enough to myself. But how do we learn to love ourselves after such traumatic events? Jim, we were talking about this coping, right? How do we learn to love after such traumatic events? Now, trauma happens in different ways, different levels. We're all affected by this. It's not one little form of trauma here. I've had my own fair share. We have to be very careful because trauma is very personal, it's deep. So it's like we have to find ourselves. We talked about this last week, I believe. We talked about finding, right? Knowing, understanding. How do we love ourselves after such traumatic events that have distorted the way we think, the way we live, the way we speak, the way we dress, the way we respond to experiences in life? How? Is this a lifetime bandage? I love this question, and I'm glad that you brought it up. Again, we're going to focus on this. Okay, this is the topic here. We're going to focus on loving. Loving ourselves in the best form. I'm going to have Jim talk about this because he was talking about coping mechanisms, right? We gotta move away from the cope. The cope is the dope, and that's no joke. That didn't rhyme well. Go ahead, Jim. Give your thoughts on it.
Yeah. How do we learn to love ourselves? Well, you can put your hands together, close your eyes, and just, put your head down and say, you know what? I forgive myself. I forgive myself for making these mistakes. I forgive myself. I made a mistake. I forgive myself. I'm going to learn from this. And you just say it over and over again in a quiet place. You say it over and over again. I forgive myself. I forgive myself. I made a mistake, but I forgive myself. And I'm going to go ahead and do better. I'm going to be doing better today. I'm going to be doing better tomorrow. You just put it out there, right? You close your eyes. You just, sometimes you got to get religious. Sometimes you got to go to a higher power, Just say that, I made a mistake. I messed up, but I forgive myself, right? That kind of mind-mouth power that you're talking about really does play a role. If you keep on saying that kind of stuff, you start, working into your mind and your feelings, right? Right. I mean, yeah. A lot of the times you can go ahead and try to focus. Where's your focus, right? And I think it comes back to the idea of how a lot of us don't have any faith because we see everything on the outside world. We see results, we see comparisons, we see other people, we see our own mistakes, but we don't have any faith. We don't have any trust in ourselves and what could be the possibilities, with our imagination. And it's unfortunate because everything is pushed in a very analytical, objective way in this world. Oh, you did X, and you got Y results. Well, you're a bad person. You're no good. You're terrible, right? And I see this person right there. You see what they're doing, and that kind of stuff. And if you constantly focus on that and not that invisible idea of faith that you can get through your circumstances, you're not going to go anywhere. You're just going to go ahead and spiral down, and you're going to start using coping mechanisms, right? Those, grabbing whatever you can, to distract yourself, instead of believing in yourself. And, I think sometimes it's, you got to take a stand and say, I'm willing to endure pain, the pain of silence, thinking about my life, looking at what's happening, being able to forgive myself, right? That takes a lot of effort. Because you have to confront a lot of emotions, and it's painful. and the emotions don't stop after, a day or so. It could last a couple days, could be a week. But if you can go and stand up to it, I mean, it should pass.
What if you decide to look at failure from a whole different perspective, right? Here's an example. I finally finished the version that I truly wanted to bring out of the Red Book. And it's also an audio version now. We're still working on the kinks and stuff like that. But I remember, this is another book that I've written that I'm going to be working on. Why am I showing you this? I'm showing you this because you might think your mistakes are really not mistakes. Your failures are really not failures, right? In order for me to have gotten to here, I had to go through here. I had to go through this book, right? In order for me to get to this book, I had to go through this book here. So, life is a progression. You must start today. You must start today. Life is a progression. I look at these books and I say, man, I went through a lot of money to get to these books like this, to get all these books done. Yeah, it cost me, but it was a lesson. It was lessons learned. Lessons learned. And, journaling is one of the hottest topics that you could use simply to turn your life right side up. You want to know, you want to adjust those coping mechanisms, right? Let's go back to Jim's conversation. Instead of the coping mechanisms coping you, why don't you cope the mechanisms? Adjust them so that they work for you and not against you. Does that make sense? These coping mechanisms that you've got going on in your life that only you know about, they're personal to you. Tweak them so that instead of them benefiting, you're going to benefit from those. Tweak them enough where you basically are in control. Does that make sense? You tweak them enough so that you get in front of them. Hey, how did he get in front of us? Where did he come from? Who said he was boss? You're boss. You just let all the construction workers get in the way. It's kind of like the way the mind works, right? You've got a construction plant going on. You've got excavation, you've got plumbers and all this stuff going on up here. Can you imagine if there was a revolution? Who's going to manage that? If they took over, you're in trouble. Your business is not going to get built, right? You got a construction site. You got to get order. You got to not manipulate, but you got to order. You got to manage. You have to lead and control. And the reverse is MPC. Remember we talked about this? I'm sure you guys remember this. I know Jim remembers that. Mind, mouth, power, congruency. It's running in reverse, man. Rampant in reverse. We got to get mind, mouth, power, congruency. Does that make sense? Mind, mouth, power, congruent. Congruent, like with the current, like what is it? Live, right? Sometimes we want to see things in real time. Did that make sense? Yeah. MPC, mind, mouth, power, congruency. Change your life, change your thinking process, change your behavior, change your emotional state, change your bank account too. Someone talked about wanting to generate more income. Sometimes it's not about what you know. It's about who you may know. Who you may know. That also is very important. Anyhow, how did we get there? We're looking at race. Go ahead, Jim. You got. I love it. Good line.
Yeah. I mean, like, if you know yourself enough that change is difficult, you got to get creative in finding ways that force you, that corner you into a situation where there's no other alternative. Uh, I think that's an acronym, TINA. There is no alternative. I mean, like today, I was contemplating going back to bad foods, you know, but then I said, you know what? Is there another run coming up? Oh, look, there's a half marathon coming up in October. Well, I'm going to go out and sign up for that. Oh, you know, can't eat bad, can't stop exercising, You already signed up for this. You paid $82, you know. Oh, you know what? I just signed up for Santos's coaching. I have to. I'm obligated to go out and meet up with him. I have to. I just signed up. I just signed up. You know, Forcing yourself, figuring out how you are, and blocking yourself from those bad behaviors. Maybe finding a partner who can go out and take your debit cards. They have them. They're not going to give them back to you, so you can't go to the casino, right? Right? What about the bank account? You know, I mean, you just know yourself enough, to outsmart yourself. Outsmart yourself. I do it, you know. I mean, I know myself. I lock myself out of the vehicle many times. So what do? I put an extra key in my wallet, because I know that I'm going to be a doofus and forget. I'm going to lock myself out. So I go and do these kinds of things. So I try to go and give myself, I try to know myself enough that I can't do, stupid. I'm forced. I'm forced. Um, but yeah, I think that is something, knowing yourself so that you can go ahead and force yourself to prevent you from doing your addictions.
Now, not to change the subject, but I'm going to change the subject a little bit. I have a question I want to ask everybody on this international live. Call me crazy. Let me ask you a question. Are you the same person you were yesterday? Are you the same person that you were yesterday? Don't answer it unless you want to put it in the text, but think about that for a moment. Here's a second question I want to ask all of us. What's important to you right now? What is important to you? Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, what have you, Snapchat. What's important to you right now? Are you? Are you? Are you? Are you? And here's another question. You can answer if you want. How do you feel about your current progress? How do you feel about your current progress? I'm going to look at a question here. Go ahead, Jim.
Santos, do you believe that you need to go through pain? Is it important to go through your pain, your personal pain, in order to get through to the other side? I mean,
Going through pain.
looking at yourself, because that's something that's painful sometimes. If you're finding yourself in a very negative situation, based upon all your survival mechanisms, the addictions that brought you down to a low place,
Well, pain is inevitable. We have to understand that, and we have to accept the fact. You're going to have pain where you are. You're going to have pain to get out of that area, right? We've learned this many times. The same mind that got you to where you are today It's not the same mind that needs to get you out to where you need to be tomorrow. Something has to change. Does that make sense? Applying anything that helps me grow in life, whether it's a piece of information, a video, a gesture, an act of kindness. We are growing. We are growing. Or I should say, not mechanisms. We're growing organisms. Every day we should be healing. We should be growing. And I'm telling you, we talked about pain. Pain is inevitable. We have to manage through pain, and we have to somehow figure out this thing. We have to figure out, you must figure it out, because if you don't, what's going to happen if you don't figure it out and you stay where you are? You stay where you are, you're just going to get more loss, more pain. Will it become more painful, or are you numb enough to stay, well, I'm in pain already. It's just not, the pain is going to go away. Is it going to become numb? Are you going to become numb to that pain? Or is it going to get greater? Is it going to become more sharp? Where is it going to hit you? Was it Race that said your self-worth is tied to your income generation? Where's it going to hit you? Go ahead, Jim.
What kind of pain do we have? I'm thinking about the kind of pain that we have. Do we have the pain that's a consequence from the addiction? Or do we have a kind of pain that we have to deal with, endure, fighting cravings? You know what I mean? Fighting your cravings, fighting those, those addictions. I mean, that's painful, And let's say that you abstain, right? Now you're alone with yourself. Okay? Now you have to deal with yourself. Now you're with yourself, and you have to figure yourself out. That's painful, and that can be fearful, confusing. It's that I don't know what to do with myself. Where do I go? What do I do? That could be a scary place. You're lost, like a kid in a zoo. When you're a little kid, you're lost, no adults around. That's painful right there, right? So what do? We go and run back to our addictions, momentarily pull our emotions above our emotional head above water,
That's what
gasp
we
for
do,
air.
Jim. That's what we do, Jim, because that's what we believe we have.
Yeah.
Remember, we talked about choices. Was it yesterday? Yesterday, I shouldn't say yesterday. It felt like it was yesterday. We talked about choices. We have choices. We're getting made. What is it? Amnesia. You don't want amnesia. In fact, we shouldn't even bring the word amnesia into the conversation. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I do know this, that words are powerful. When you start throwing words around, magical things can happen. Right? Or when you begin deleting words out of your vocabulary. You add, you can take away.
Some of the pain that we get from losing all our money. Like, who was it? Yeah, if you lose your money, right? That's painful. That's a consequence, right? But it's a kind of a good consequence, because it's supposed to help you remember not to do that act again, right? It has to be painful. That pain, is supposed to push you in a better direction. And that's where you said you don't want to have amnesia, right? You don't have to want to forget about that pain. That pain should be with you, so it can be a reminder. It's like, what? I don't like that. I don't like that feeling. I don't want to do that again. I don't want to do that again. So it's important to remember. It's important to remember the consequences of what we did. Forgive yourself, but don't forget that kind of pain and the consequences of going down that direction, of losing all your money at the casino.
So, yeah, again, I ask you to think, what's important to you? We're going to be getting off the airwaves here pretty soon, maybe in about another 10, 15 minutes or so. But I got to ask you, got to challenge you, right? I present this to myself. I present it to Jim. What's important to you? Taking just a minute or two and thinking about that can make a big impact for you tomorrow. Coming here and just hearing me say that to you, hey, what's important to you? And you taking 5 or 10 minutes to think about that, you never know what kind of a blessing, what kind of neat experience might come out of something like this. That's why you have to be aware, be present, right? Be here. I'm here. Jim, you here? I feel you're here, Jim, right? We're in the conversation. I feel others are here too. You got to make sure you're here. With 35, 45 minutes, I asked you a question in the beginning. Are you seeking? Are you seeking? Seeking. And that's the only way that we can get better. You can bring out the best in you, your inner genius, your wisdom. I used to believe at one point, I used to think of myself, I had the lowest thought, one of the lowest thoughts of myself. And I don't know where exactly this came from, probably from my childhood somewhere. I didn't think that I was a very smart person. I didn't think highly. I didn't think highly of myself. And it's not about being proud where, look at me. And no, I'm talking about, I was afraid to take an exam for fear of failure because I knew I was going to fail it. So I would not even take the exam. That's the mindset that I had. I had to grow out of that mindset, because that mindset, it wouldn't have gotten me here. It wouldn't have gotten me this little red book, the little book that I wrote, 15-minute mornings, breakfast. Actually, this is the other one that I'm working on, Life's 3 Most Important Questions. This will be coming out pretty soon too. This is an older. Anyways, keep yourself challenged. We talked about this on several episodes. You keep yourself challenged because you're looking for risk. You're looking for whatever it is. People looking for ways to make more money. You're looking to become stronger, become better, run the triathlon like Jim is talking about here, or eating better. I'm going off. Let me get back. Let me retract here. Okay. Wish I could tell my old self same words. Go ahead, Jim. And Carol, shout out to Carol there, Saskatchewan. I believe it's Canada, isn't it? Canada? I'm thinking, why am I thinking Alaska? Yeah, Canada. Saskatchewan. Anyways.
Yeah. You say, what is important to me right now? I'm thinking about that question, and I'm thinking, what am I willing to sacrifice to get better? What am I willing to sacrifice? Can I sacrifice all these distractions, to get better? Well, that's going to take some effort. That's going to take some energy. And I think it's going to take some faith too, because you got to believe. You got to believe that there's going to be a better tomorrow if you do put that discipline and effort in. If you don't believe, how do you develop belief? We talked about that, I think, before in other episodes, right? How do you go and develop belief? I mean, I said it before today, if you just look at the world, right? If you just look at your negative past results, you're not going to believe. You're not going to believe. So you have to kind of have some faith in yourself. right? How do you develop that faith? You got to make a decision. I was listening to, I think there was a Bible. So there was a Bible story of David. I don't know. His team got beat. All his wives got taken. You know, all their stuff got taken, and
Mhm.
he was feeling pretty bad. A lot of despair. His troops were like thinking about stoning him. And then
Yeah.
I think something about in the Bible saying that David then he encouraged himself, right?
Mhm.
He strengthened himself, something like that. He started focusing. He intentionally
Mhm.
focused. That what, we're going to get all our wives back. We're going to get our families back. You know, and he didn't he didn't know it. I mean, he believed in God. He believed in God. Um,
Mhm. King David, yeah. And
yeah,
he got everything back.
got everything back, right?
Yep.
Because he encouraged
Yep.
himself. He encouraged himself.
Yep. So
I mean, it
he
strengthened
encouraged himself in the Lord, and God led him, and everything came back. All the women, the children, and yeah, they. I believe that was the story of. It might have been Ziklag, where they burned the city. They came in, and uh, David and his army were out in the wilderness, and they're tired from battles, and their
It's kind of like
wives
our
and everything.
lives, right? Our
Yeah.
lives,
But
battles,
they
defeats,
turned around, and he fought back with God's grace and through faith. He
faith.
believed. And so, yeah, we're coming close here to the end of the hour, friend. I hope that you're thinking about this. What's important to you? What's important to you on the other side? Want that to sink into your mind. What's important to you? Not what's I'm saying or what Jim's saying or what we think or what the mission is. What's important to you? Right? How do you feel about your current progress? Are you grateful that you came here for 35 minutes? Uh,
And Santos, I was telling you, I think in a previous text about the idea of doing the right thing, right? Doing the right thing, does that always result in good feelings, making you feel good, happy? Doing bad things. I mean, you know, can that make you happy? It can, right? So sometimes when we
because
do
it's the
good things,
chemical, it's the release of the chemical. And if you don't discern that, it doesn't matter. Evil can make you feel good.
yeah. I mean,
It's the chemical.
abstaining.
The chemical is not, is the chemical positive? Is the chemical negative? It's neutral. It's what you do to release that inside yourself. We have to get ourselves, you have to convince yourself, and that's a process. You have to convince yourself, and that's a process. Once you're able to convince yourself, you can convince yourself. Does that make sense? Once you're able to convince yourself, you can actually convince yourself. You can do more with yourself, in other words. You have to get yourself to that place. It's a
All right, you get
process. That's why we come here for 35, 40 minutes. You take some notes, right? Use this time wisely. I mean, you could be somewhere else watching a movie, cowboy western, Will Smith, uh, giving a crack to this guy on the face or whatever. You could be doing, but you chose to be here. I chose to be here. My goal and my mission is to support somebody, somebody, you on the other side. Get you from A to B tonight. Get you somewhere along, get you further. Hopefully, I'll see you next Sunday and you'll say, hey, I'm one step closer. But if you're coming here, honestly, if you're coming here and you're not walking away with something that's giving you energy to take action, my friend, I'm going to be honest with you, you're wasting your time. You're wasting your time. And I love for you to come here. All of you, guests, partners, come here, but please use your time. Listen, the other day, some guy died, right? His name is Steve. I think his name is Steve Harville. I didn't know who he was, and I was karaokeing his music. He was the lead singer for Smash Mouth. I'm a believer. Remember that one? Couldn't leave her if I tried. Da-na-na-na-na-na. I'm a believer. He passed away. We don't know. You don't know the day. The day. You don't know the day nor the hour. So right now we got a little bit of time. Times are getting tougher. The ability to generate more income, you got to get wiser up here. How? Your business isn't going in the direction that you want it to. What do you got to do? You got to figure that out up here. Creativity, artificial intelligence, robotics, and all these other things will not figure that out. Only the human mind is. That's one thing. Artificial intelligence. Listen, I'm into technology big time. I'm building a business with technology, right? So I'm learning a lot. But I know one thing's a fact. The human mind, the machine cannot do what a human mind can do. And that's creativity. All of us combined, we can come up with ideas right here on this platform that can solve many problems. But it takes brainstorm, it takes energy, it takes belief, and it takes faith, and it takes some writing down. Because if you got a good thought and you didn't write it down, what makes you think that you're going to get that same thought again? Maybe 80,000 thoughts. Is it 80,000, Jim? 85,000 thoughts that are in your head constantly throughout the day? I don't know how many. I don't know where they got that number, but I know there's a lot of thoughts going on, right? It's like a freeway. Let me get off here. Let me get back on here. Anyhow, I hope I'm making sense to you on the other side. And by the way, if I am making sense and you're not Soldier Scribed, if you're not subscribed to this channel, I'm going to ask you to do this. Subscribe. Turn your notifications to all. Keep the number 23 in mind. You want to support this mission? Am I supporting you? Are we supporting you? Support this mission financially. Keep the number 23 in mind. Buy a book. Right? We've got a couple of books over right there, down there. $20, $15, whatever it is. Even if it's $50. If $50 can help you save several thousand in a month or two, to me, in my economy, that's well worth spending the $50. Okay. All right. I said enough about that. Somebody said, Santos, you're begging too much. Well, I'm going to keep begging because I'm putting out, right? So we need to support each other. I need your support. All right. Let me see. Escalera. Jim, you got some thoughts before we get? Good afternoon. I just lost 14. I promised to myself I won't go back. You got to promise yourself. Promise yourself throughout the whole day. Tell yourself throughout the whole day. Start tomorrow. I'm not going back. I'm not. Go throughout the whole day saying that to yourself. Maybe a possibility you might not go back, right? Imagine if you did that to yourself all day long. I'm not going back. I'm not going back. I'm not going back all day. You did that, man. That'll be like a merry-go-round in your head. I'm not going back. I'm not going back. I'm not going back. I'm not going back. Well, Santos, is that what you did? Yeah. And we'll come and do the call to action here in a minute. So thank you for hanging out. Thank you for allowing me to, maybe you become a little bit of a glutton for punishment. I'm not trying to punish you. I'm just joking here. So go ahead, Jim. We're going to close shop here. Thank you, guys. We've had a little bit of an audience. I appreciate all of you. Once again, shout out to LinkedIn. We're doing some things through LinkedIn. So those of you that see me on LinkedIn, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but you know what I'm about there. I'm one transparent mojo. There's a lot of fake people, online, a lot of fake people in many social media sites. But I'll tell you one thing about me. I don't mind putting my face on the camera because I'm real to myself, number one. Doesn't matter who other people, as long as I'm real to myself and I know who I am and where I'm going, that's what's important. May be able to possibly support you also, right? But if I don't know where I'm going, if I'm not real to myself, if I'm just a scam, if I'm out here just begging for a few pennies. Anyhow. So thank you guys. I appreciate. Hey, Joshua, I don't know. Thank you from Joshua. That name's in the Bible, by the way. So go ahead, Jim. I've got a call to action real quick. And then make sure you visit soldiersofselfmastery.com. Support the mission. Get the book. It's on audio. It's actually changed a little bit better. So there you go.
Yeah, in regards to Escalera, I think it's important for Escalera to really figure out, really think hard. What does he really want? He probably doesn't like to lose money. I mean, are you at that point where you know that you have a serious problem? Are you at that point where it's really affecting your life in a negative way? Because you know how they say, time heals all wounds, right? If you let time go by, this pain might kind of leave you. Remember, Santos, you talked about amnesia, right? I mean, if you really believe that you're in a very bad spot there, Escalera, you have to use that $1,400, this loss, take it seriously, and really kind of dissect what happened. What got you to this point? What were your emotions? What were your thoughts? You should gotta be writing this down. What were you rationalizing in your mind? What were you thinking? And how did that, obviously it didn't work out very well. It didn't work out very well. You write all this stuff down on paper. And, write it down all the other times that you lost that kind of money before. Write all those times down. Like, pull out your maybe your bank account statements, and just look at the wins and losses. Look at all that stuff and see. It's like, oh my gosh, if I keep this habit up, where am I going to be? And sometimes looking at yourself right there is very painful. It's like, oh my gosh, what I'm out of control here. This could probably, if you really take yourself seriously right here, take really, a strong look at your situation. This could be the day that you turn your life around. This could be the best thing that happened to you, right? Could be the best thing. But you got to really look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know what? Am I being honest with myself? Am I just upset that I lost the money? Am I going to go back? Or do I recognize that I have a serious problem here? Do I have a serious problem? You got to be honest with yourself. You really got to be honest with yourself if you're going to be making, good change. Sometimes we don't want to be honest with ourselves because it's too painful. But, we got to endure that pain. Like you said, Santos, right? Pain is inevitable, right? And there's so many avenues where we can escape to, right? To cope with pain, but that's just numbs it. It's like drugs, right? But that's not going to go ahead and solve the underlying problem,
Nope. No, we have to confront it. You have to face it. We all have problems. Santos, you have problems? Santos, how many problems do you have? I raise both hands. Am I seeking? You bet I am. Do I get it right all the time? No. It's not meant for me to get it right all the time. Wouldn't learn. Should I keep making the same mistakes over and over, Santos? How you going to learn? What's one thing you must focus on? One thing. One. I'm going to invite you to think about this here, video therapy. Santos, one life hack that helped you in a good way. Watching videos, taking notes, watching videos. The best times to watch videos is early in the morning or late at night, just before you go to bed. Best time to watch videos, take notes, just before you go to bed. Now, don't try to do it like this, right? Got to be at least a little awake, a few minutes, 5-10 minutes. In the morning, your brain is ready to absorb your brain is like a sponge early in the morning. Take advantage of it. Well, Santos, how do you know? Because I kind of study these things, right? You want to get the most out of, like they say, you got to get the best bang out of your buck, or the best buck out of your bang, either way. Early in the morning, like they say, the bird. One time I was sweeping my garage early in the morning, and there was a big water cockroach. They come out here in California. They're out here all over. The big cockroaches, not inside. They hang out in the fields. Well, I found one of those. I won't use the word. I kicked that thing. I sprayed it, and I kicked that thing out in front of the yard. And it was early. And I sat there for a few minutes, and I watched a bird, a big bird, come swoop down. And that was a pretty good size one. Sorry, bird, it had a little poison, but maybe the bird's stomach is like acid. So that was pretty cool. Anyways, I watched that bird swoop down and eat that insect and just clean it right up. Why did I say that? What does that have to do with change? Anyways, video therapy is what you want to be doing. How did I go off in that? I get distracted sometimes because of lights and little messages, but that's okay. That's all right. It's not going to throw me off in any way. See, I make mistakes. I'm not ashamed to say it because it is what it is. We all do these things. But be right in the middle of your shame, of your problems, of your losses. Be inspired, be motivated, and use this thing and use the video therapy. Video therapy, right? Oh, I wanted to get a camera. I should have gotten a picture of that thing that happened. Yeah, we're talking about the early in the morning, right? The bird, the early bird gets the worm. There we go. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, so video therapy, watch videos. We've got plenty of videos you can watch. We've got the book on audio. You can listen to that in the background. Imagine having Coach Santos in the background while you're driving around. You're listening to Santos's philosophy, kind of helping you compartmentalize everything that you need to. That makes sense, right? The book, audio. All right, Jim, let me see. I haven't went back since I was pissed last week. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, and all I have to say is we have to kind of realize what kind of pains are in our life. We have to kind of just look in the mirror and figure out what's going on. Be in a quiet place. Close your eyes. Be away from the music, the noise, the casinos, wherever, right? And you really just start thinking about your life, where you want to go, right? What kind of mistakes you made. Remember to forgive yourself. Say it over and over again. We make mistakes. We're not perfect. No one's perfect. And we can go ahead and use all these kinds of mistakes as ways to turn our lives around, right? It does take effort. It does take pain of discipline, right? Ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? So, yeah. I mean, like, we got to build up our pain muscle, right? Our pain endurance muscle. We have to strengthen it every day, every day. You start out little by little. Learn about yourself, learn your weaknesses, and adapt your life, so that you can go ahead and not fall into traps.
Yep, exactly. You can get the little book, the Little Red Book. You can get it on Amazon, or you can go to the link right here. I don't know. Can you see the link, Jim? Is it big enough down there? It's scrolling in front of
yes, soldiersofselfmastery.com.
Yeah,
Yes.
you can go there and you can order the book. We've got, I don't know if it might be a little bit difficult to navigate. I'm not sure. I might have to take a look at the website, but we've got some products that will help you change the way you think, change the bad behavior, the bad thoughts, right? So you can change your good behavior, your bad behavior. So I've got some guides. I've got some video therapy, if you will, some boot camps that you can watch at home or on your cell phone. That's all back there at the website. The book is also in audio form there at the website. I believe it should be up and running. And we've got more books coming. Like I said, I've got a couple of other books, really interesting. Life's most important, three of life's most important questions. That's going to be an interesting one. And 15-minute mornings, breakfast of champions. I'm looking forward to getting that one, building that up. So Yes, you can get a hold of me through the website if you want to communicate with me. Unfortunately, I do not do free coaching. I don't do anything free, but we can correspond by email if you want. And other than that, listen, invest in yourself. Find a way to invest in yourself before it's too late. Obviously, when it's too late, it's too late, right? Now's the time. If you're hearing it, now is the time. Just like Jim says, now is the time. So, with that said, I want to thank all of you guys. Jim, thank you for hanging out all the way from Tucson. Jim, and there's Carol, there's Rosa, there's Sumaya, there's Joshua, there's Laura, there's Angela, there's Ken, there's Pedro, there's Natalie. Wow, Mark, Race, all of you wonderful folks here, and there's people that came in. I don't even know who they were. They came in, they watched. Maybe they got. Hopefully, you got what you needed. You know. And look at that, an hour's gone, and how far? Oh, let me see. There was somebody else here that I wanted to see. Escalera. There we go. Sure. I'd love to make contact with all of you guys. Listen, I'd love to make contact with you. We can sit for an hour. We can brainstorm. We can break through. But unfortunately, you're taking your money and you're using it in the wrong direction. And until you figure that out, you're not going to be able to be in the presence of a coach that can help you achieve your goals way fast. That's the truth, folks. I send you love. I send you good energy, good action-taking energy, and I'll see you at the top on the inside on my next one. Once again, Jim, thank you for being with us here. And we'll see you next Sunday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here at the top on the inside, fired up.
Thanks, Santos. You have a good week. Take care.
You too, Jim.
See you next Sunday.
Super
Bye-bye.
fantastic. Oh, Gloria. There we go. Gloria came by to visit there. And then there was Laura. I mentioned Laura. All right. Folks, thank you for hanging out. We'll see you at the top on the inside. Making it super fantastic, terrific, and over the top. Daily.